Yes. Okay, that was
Very good.
Any other really good comments, Peter?
That was it.
All right. So without objection, we'll file the meeting minutes from October.
No objection.
All right. And we're
No
going,
objection.
and we're going to switch 4 and 5 because Richard Adams is not on the meeting at this point. I want to give him a chance to, that was his request. So we're going to jump to 5. And that is discussion. Who are we hearing in the background? Is that you, Richard Niederberg?
Maybe, obviously, I'm in a rehab center, so you never know what you're going to find. I'll see if I can mute it.
Mute it unless you want to talk on. Okay, so number 5, discussion and possible motion regarding rules for running more efficient, professional, and transparent board and committee meetings. And I'm going to let Mr. Mandel take over.
Hi, everybody. Scott Mandel here. I'm kind of a newcomer to the SCNC, and I've made just a few personal observations, and I have some suggestions, comments in regard to this agenda item. I guess number 1 is I would suggest that 3 meetings scheduled for one night is probably a terrible idea. And I don't think you need to change the bylaws for that. I think the committees should sort of all be in sync with each other and not schedule 3 meetings at the same night, and some are actually overlapping on the time frame.
Scott, can I address that really quick?
Sure.
It's because of the elections. Richard and I were both scheduled to work the elections last Monday, so we had a bump. That's what happened.
Okay, so this won't happen for another 4 years.
Unless, yes, maybe there's a holiday, yes.
Okay. And then with calendar postings, when I logged onto the calendar on November 4th, there were only 2 items posted. And looking at our neighbor, Sherman Oaks, I mean, they have calendar postings for months in advance for the regularly scheduled meetings. And I just think for people on the outside looking to start to participate, and I tell them to go to the calendar page, and then they write me back and say, there's nothing on the calendar page. And I say, don't worry, it will be there. It kind of makes outreach, not the committee, but even the concept a little difficult. Again, none of these things really require a change to the bylaws. I think these are common sense. The posting of the committee meetings where motions are discussed, I think the links to all the issues is a great idea, but I see now people are posting links without any type of description whatsoever. So you have no idea what the item is unless you click the link. I don't think it should be either or. I think it should be both. Put a link and do the, I think somewhere in the bylaws it is say like 120 characters or something, or 12 words to summarize what the item is, rather than just the link or just the summary. Also, in this day and age of technology, the posting of transcripts would be great in addition to the posting of the videos. I've discussed with a lot of people who wanted to be brought up to date, and their complaint was, well, it's a 2-hour YouTube that you can speed up, but they asked, well, can I read this? And it's like, well, no, I don't think so. And there's free software and cheap software that will transcribe to a reasonable degree of accuracy what took place in the Zoom meeting. And with the technology of Zoom, I think we should embrace it, post transcripts, post the videos, post everything there is. Also, when the board is going to be discussing and voting on motions that were proposed in the committee, I think that the board and the public shouldn't be discussing it until the Zoom meeting, sometimes 2-3 weeks prior, is posted. Is it required? No. Is it a good idea? I think so, because when you look at the agenda of a board meeting and it's say it's involving a motion from the land use or from government affairs or whoever, and the previous meeting is not available to anybody, but it is with a click, I just think that's a really bad idea. Again, outreach, transparency, technology, just embrace it. And
can you say that again? Because I didn't quite understand exactly what you're looking for.
Like there'll be a board meeting, and in the meeting agenda, there'll be they're going to vote on a motion that was sort of a CIS or something, say approved by land use, not to pick on land use, so to whoever, sustainability, bylaws. But the previous meeting that discussed that in committee is not posted, although it may have occurred 2 weeks ago. Post it before the board meeting, at least a couple days before, certainly not after, so people can catch up. Not everybody can watch these things live, and things do get posted, but posting it after, posting the committee meeting after the board meeting where it's voted on, I think is, I mean, it's not helpful, and technology makes it so simple to do. Again, I don't think it needs to be, well, we're only required to do it 72 hours or whatever it is. Just common sense, post the Zoom immediately or the day after with a mouse click with a transcript. So then when the board meeting comes, people who want to catch up, including board members, because
you're talking about posting the recorded committee meeting.
Yes, in advance.
Like within 24 hours after the meeting happened.
As soon as reasonably possible.
Okay.
I mean, not like, Peter's there with his video equipment and he has to take it to his edit suite and then, sort of compile it all and post it. I mean, the Zoom meeting is recorded. And if I understand how it works, or at least the ones I've recorded, you can simply then click and post. There's nothing to do. So I don't see any reason to wait, especially when it's something, when we're trying to reach out and get more people involved, and getting them more involved would be, hey, here's what the board is voting on. This was the committee meeting. Here's the video. You don't want to watch the video for 2 hours. Here's the transcript. Search your keywords and read about the motion that you're interested in, or the discussion that you're interested in. And it makes it so much easier than going on to YouTube and trying to find the 10-minute section that may be dealing with what it is that you're looking for. Also, with the difference in Zoom setups, I think some type of uniformity and consistency between the way the committee members set up their Zoom meetings would also be helpful, because in some meetings, you don't get to, you do or don't get to chat. And I think the chat and the raise hand is a good function that some people seem to engage, others don't. Also, in some Zoom meetings, you're allowed to see participants. Even if you're not, you can still see, like right now, I can see, if I click participants, I see there's 6 participants and I see who they are. On some committee meetings, that function is disabled. So just some kind of a uniformity and between all of the different committees. And I think that's really about it. I mean, just use the technology.
Wow, that was very succinct. I'm very proud of you, Scott.
Well, I tried to do it quickly. I didn't want to see like all these people just signing out.
Okay, well, let's just address a couple singly at a time. So the calendar thing, we were trying to work on that to make that better. I think what we're going to do in the future is, I think we're going to try to move bylaws to the second Monday and share it with outreach, and let sustainability have the first Monday. I'm not sure, but I think that's where it's going to end up. The problem with and it's not really a problem, but the reason you're not getting what you want, for instance, with the posting of the committee meetings immediately, is because the only person, I think, Peter, you can maybe correct me, but I think the only person that has authority to do that is the president. So Randy has to literally go in and post it.
Well, authority is one thing, giving somebody the password is another. So if the password is shared, then anybody can do it. Also, transcripts are automatically generated by Zoom. So even if you don't have time to post the video right away, you could easily post the transcript.
So if, for instance, right now, do you think that I could do it, or do you still need that password?
I just know about the functionality. I have
Okay.
not been into the settings in Zoom, but I know it exists.
Well, I think that that's something that I would be happy to talk to Randy about personally. Did Alexa or Richard, do you think that that's something we should look into to put into our rules?
Do you think that it's an appropriate place for it in our rules?
I don't, by the way.
Okay. Well,
If
I
you think he
think
doesn't?
Richard does not think it's appropriate to put that in our rules. My hunch is that we're going to be kind of done with this, and I don't know why I'm hunching that, but maybe we won't. Maybe it's a permanent thing to have these meetings online.
Is it? I don't know. It doesn't feel like in our rules is the place to put it. But even if we were done with rules like this, maybe it's nice to have, like, you know, in an event this happens again and you can't meet physically, what are the rules of online meetings?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just for future purposes, if for any reason it happens again, because, you know, we didn't really have any protocols put in place when we all ended up locked in our homes.
Yeah, and neither did Robert's Rules of Order, frankly. They are working
Right. Well,
right now.
because it's an outdated, the law is always the last to catch up with the times.
That's true. But remember, we're posting these online meetings at CBS. I think that's very funny. Necessary, legal, yes, but kind of funny.
I missed your point, Richard. I'm sorry. Say that again.
We're still posting all
Oh,
of the meetings at CBS.
yes, because it's required. Yes.
Right. It's a good place for them. People can drive by, but still, our meetings are not there.
Correct. Well,
I think the point is to, like, fill the gaps where things like Robert's Rules of Order doesn't even, you know, think about the occurrence where something like this could happen, because they were written so long ago that this didn't exist. So they didn't even know how to accommodate for meetings of this nature. Maybe it's something, I mean, yes, granted, we're not, it's tough. I'm not sure where to go with that, but definitely I think that there should be some sort of accommodation and guidance for meetings that are not in person. But whether that's, I think that if we're going to do it, though, it's a big undertaking. Like, it's an entire section that we need to accommodate and write versus just adding one thing into our rules. Do you kind of see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, we also should see what other neighborhood councils are doing. So if they got clearances to the city attorney, I assume they did, then maybe we can kind of do some copying.
well, I don't think we need clearance to require, and even we don't even have to require. We can, many things in our operating procedures, we have may instead of shall, right? So
Right.
The president is recommended to post all committee meetings 72 hours before the board meeting. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not a rule, but it's a recommendation.
Okay.
And then he would only have to spend one day doing all of them at the same time after all of those meetings come through.
Whereas Barry has to keep on posting at the front of those.
Whereas Barry or Michael or whoever is willing to do it has to do that. I think Scott, if you're okay with that, like this particular one, the one about posting, I kind of would like to have a conversation with Randy about it and maybe come back to put it into the rules. But in the meanwhile, ask Randy to do it anyway. Even if it's not a rule, right? Just for transparency.
Sure, that makes total sense. I mean, not knowing how long Zoom meetings are going to norm, I don't see why, you know, again, as Peter had mentioned, if Randy trusts some of the committee chairs, just posting them, posting the transcript, posting the Zoom right after it takes place. I mean, you hit the record button, you could post it to the YouTube channel, and wherever the transcript would go. I'm not sure if that goes maybe to the SCNC website or what have you, but some way that, I mean, if the whole point is to get more people involved, we have to look at this from people on the outside who have never been to CBS, haven't attended a meeting in person, have only gotten involved in the era of Zoom and pandemics because they have time on their hands and they're tuning in. So how can we get more participation and more involvement? Well, by giving people more time to review what's going on and making it as easy as possible. And it seems as if what Peter said, along with transcripts being automatically generated and the ability to post right after, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't, whether it's in the bylaws or the city attorney says it's okay, or Randy just decides to implement it. I think we should just do it.
Nancy, I'm here.
Oh, welcome. We
Sorry for my paper locked on the meeting. Sorry.
That's all right. We'll come back to you. We were doing the other motion first. Okay, well, that's going to be the plan of attack right now. I'm going to talk to Randy about it privately about this posting, right? Then the other
Can I
question.
add something? Can I add something?
Go ahead, Richard.
Also, it kind of will help us if anybody makes a request under law for a copy of what we're doing. We can just say it's on Yearbook or wherever it's at. They can look it up, and we won't have to be looking for so much paper.
Yeah. Now, the question about the calendar postings, I have to tell you, Scott, in general, I totally agree with you. Before I became active in the neighborhood council, I'm like, why is there nothing on their calendar? It looked dead. As the chair, I understand as soon as you put something on it, it holds you. And so there's got to be a balance there where I'm not committed in January to having a meeting on the election night because I didn't think of it, 11 months earlier, or know that there was going to be a problem and I wouldn't be able to achieve quorum. So anybody, Alexa or Richard, have comments on that?
I have no comments because I didn't hear the rest of the discussion.
Oh, Richard Niederberg, sorry, honey.
Oh,
That's
yeah. What happens is when there's a request to anybody about from Cultural Affairs, I tell them we meet the first Tuesday of every month, except election night. No matter what month of the year they call or ask, it's always the same answer. It's not on. It's every month, first Tuesday of every night of every year of every month, except for election night. Seems to work because it's what I always say to everybody. I've written it numerous times, and so it seems to be a good idea if every committee established ahead of time. Of course, a lot of them aren't going to do stuff on Hanukkah or Christmas or Rosh Hashanah, but they should decide ahead of time what they're going to do. Thank you.
Do you guys think that we have an obligation, a legal obligation, that if we put that there's going to be a committee meeting, we can't change it?
I'm looking at Sherman Oaks right now, and they populate the same day every month. And for instance, what they have in November is they have the public safety meeting on its normal time, but it says canceled. So they're really not held to it. Green and Sustainability Committee meeting canceled. So they just put the placeholders there, and then they'll post things like agenda will be posted within 72 hours of meeting. They just sort of save the date. And then if something comes up, they just change it to cancel. I don't know that they're doing it legally correctly, but as far as looking at their calendar, you can go to, December, fully populated, January of 2021. They haven't started with 2021 yet. for at least the calendar year, they would have the months in advance populated for when the meeting would normally occur, and then cancel it or change it within the 72-hour window, I think was their time.
Do we, okay, I'm going to just call on people, but my question is, do we think this belongs in outreach? But Peter, Cole, go ahead.
Predating my time with the SCNC, I believe somebody used to pre-populate the calendar with the standard dates. And as far as bylaws go or operating procedures, I don't believe that the calendar posting is a requirement. The physical postings at CBS are, right, for Brown Act, but the calendar isn't. So I don't know, I wouldn't fret too much about it, but it seems like pre-populating the calendar would be a good idea. And then adding a tech note on top of it, there probably is a way to modify the website to put a calendar on there that when you subscribe to it, if something changes, that those changes are pushed to the users and they'll be informed that something's changed.
They've been pre-populating the dates in the calendar on the webpage as long as we've had a webpage. And then, if something happens and it moves, the legal requirement is the agenda has to be on the website and the physical postings, and has to go out through the early notification system. So post to the city web pages too. But changing a date on the calendar, if we had more control over our website, we could do it. But if we have to go to the lovely people at our tech support people, we only get X number of hours a month of service, and they probably charge in 15-minute increments, even if it only takes them 30 seconds. It's a question of
That's our problem, actually, Scott, is that we can't populate our own calendar. We have to send it into the web people to do it, which is kind of crazy.
Hey, Nancy, can I make a comment?
Uh-huh.
When I got my hands on the old website, I figured out how it worked. It was rather crude and crippled, but you could do it. And the procedure before that was to have Web Corner hold your hand. I can't believe that this new website is more complicated than what was previously, than the previous website. So it really just is teach a man to fish and teach every committee member here to fish and forget about Web Corner. It's not that hard. It can't be.
So whose jurisdiction, though? I don't think it falls under bylaws. I still think it falls under outreach.
Yeah, there would be.
So that's another talk to Randy and talk to Michael. I mean, maybe I'll bring it up during public comment for Michael tonight.
I just noticed it says sustainability is at 7:30, but the agenda they put out, at least the one that's still on the website, is 7 p.m.
Yeah, we've got two Zoom meetings. We're overlapping 3 committees tonight because of elections. Okay, Debbie, I see your hand is up. Is this old or did I just not call on you?
No, it pertains to this discussion. If I may just give some insight from what our neighborhood council has been thinking about. It particularly in terms of what Scott's saying about trying to do more outreach and how Zoom has been able to accomplish that. Prior to COVID, our board was seriously investigating how to have our governing board meetings somehow on the web so that more people could attend. And so I think that going forward, now that we've sort of broken the eggshell, so to speak, and started this Zoom process, going forward, there will be more of that. And likewise, Scott, we also have issues for me as a stakeholder, not being able to see the minutes prior to things being recorded. That was always, why don't we have them up sooner so we can kind of research it? But I think you will need to prepare at some point to be able to have some sort of online presence available for your stakeholders, even when this is contained. I don't know
No.
if that helps or not.
Yeah, no, the thing is, I'm going to tell you, we can't post the meeting minutes until they've been approved at the next committee meeting.
Oh, that's very interesting because we do a draft version so that people can, because like I said, the public has an opportunity to vote on things. So they have an opportunity to say, hey, I was misquoted here, or you missed this section, et cetera, in the minutes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Our minutes only include actions. They don't include comments.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you taking my comment.
Yeah. Okay, what else was I missing? The uniformity with Zoom. Well, I don't know about that. Comments from anybody about that uniformity with how we're running Zoom meetings?
I can chime in.
What on earth what does uniformity mean in that context?
Okay, that context means we can see every meeting. You can see the chat room, or you can't see the chat room. How raised hands are dealt with. If you can see the participants. Did I get that kind of right, Scott?
Yes.
Okay.
So the layout and the functionality is pretty much the same between all the committees, as opposed to each committee sort of sets up their Zoom meeting differently. I don't think intentionally. I think it's just by the technology, the mystery of the technology itself. Like the way this is set up right now, we have calendar view. Everyone who wants to be seen is seen, and there's a participant list. So we know how many are on board, whether they're in the calendar, in the gallery view or not, but we don't have the chat button on the bottom, but we do have the ability to raise hands. In other meetings, it's different.
Yeah, it changes. It does change. Goat Puppet is on. Goat Puppet, please go ahead and share. Do that.
Yes. So, as you see tonight, look at the level of trust. You trust Goat Puppet with his own set of wonderful buttons. I can mute and unmute with my digital hoof anytime I want, my video. So what has Goat Puppet been doing with all of this power? Behaving himself. Now, what does Randy Fried Chicken do? He causes limited access. When you put an animal in a cage, that animal tends to rebel. When you let the animal roam free on the range, the animal runs and decompresses. So we should run the regular city council meeting just like this one and have uniformity. Think of all the fun we would have. How about in LA City Council meetings? Wouldn't you pay to see the Goat Puppet having his ability to unmute at city council meetings anytime he wanted? This would be more ratings than the Super Bowl. Imagine. So let's do it. Let's run every meeting here and in the whole city just like this. Because you can trust the Goat Puppet because the Goat Puppet trusts you, right? That's right. What are you doing? I'm just talking, sir. Okay, well, I need you.
I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I need you to go buy some eat some vegetation. Okay, so I have to go now. But yes, I like the way this meeting's being run. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Goat Puppet. Peter Cole.
I don't know enough about Zoom, but Goat Puppet has obviously merit in his comments. What happens when you have a meeting with 40 or 50 people and people don't always mute their mics? Can you still format it this way where we can all see the participants, but whoever's running the meeting can mute everybody, but you can still unmute? You know, it's kind of like you need a default off position for everybody.
Should we test this right now? I've got a mute all button. Let me try it.
Okay.
Okay, everybody's been muted.
Not me.
Shoot,
Not me.
never mind. Haha, I didn't do it right. Now you're all muted.
But we can unmute ourselves. That's good.
Okay. So you unmuted yourself. All right, good. All right. All right, I'm just unmuted everybody.
Push the mute button now. Sorry, sir.
So Peter, were you done with your comments or?
No, Patrice here was just making a comment. Since I've recorded so many meetings, the old-fashioned way, I can tell you this is a godsend for meetings using Zoom. The technical aspects of trying to put microphones in front of 15 people that are totally unaware of the process and tables moving, and it's a nightmare. This is so much better. And you have an automatic transcript.
Can I say something? Plus the fact that nobody liked going over to CBS. So it was really difficult for us to get people involved unless it specifically involved them for, so now it's just like Zoom, you've gotten like such a great amount of people involved where it was never like that before. So if there's any way after COVID that you can continue to do these Zoom meetings, I think it's a really good idea because people love it. They can be at home and be involved instead of going through that whole CBS thing.
Okay, I still think that's maybe another question for Randy because he's got the authority. He's the one that signs us on. He signed us on today and transferred the power to me and then left. So the uniformity of all of the meetings, unless like right now, there's no chat, right? Scott, do you see a chat?
I don't see chat, but I have seen meetings where this gallery view is only of the committee and or the board members, but we still have a participant view of everybody who is not given those credentials, and there's chat and raising hands. So I have seen that, which is, I guess, would be fully loaded without having every single participant here in the gallery view, like for the board meetings, as opposed to the committee meetings, which are less formal, but you still see all the participants and
I'm going to ask this with Randy because I think it's a Randy and Gibson question as far as how this whole thing is set up. And Alexa or Richard Niederberg, do you have any other thoughts about that?
Not really. No, I think it has to be done at executive level and then imposed because I don't think you're ever going to have multiple committees agreeing to the exact same format unless they're kind of forced into it.
Yeah, and I would say mine is because I have such a small amount of people on. I'm way more flexible. I have 2 items on my agenda. As opposed to 20 items on an agenda with 70 people.
Also, in my particular case of cultural affairs, there's pictures, there's music, it's all kinds of stuff because we're making decisions that are artistic in nature, and it may not work very well with Zoom to have it too much different than it is right now.
Well, Scott, was there anything else to talk about?
Can I make one other comment?
Was that Peter?
Peter.
Yes.
I don't think Richard Niederberg would be on this meeting tonight if it wasn't for Zoom. So, and I may not either, just because it's so convenient. So, anyway, as far as
I hear you.
Anyway,
I mean, we're not making that isn't really on our agenda whether or not we're going to keep going with this, but it probably will be a question coming up pretty darn quickly.
Okay. Peter, are you in Carmel or Studio City?
I refuse to answer that question on the grounds that I may incriminate myself.
Okay, thank you.
I do, Scott, I know that, have you been heard? Do you feel like you're going to get,
No, this is great.
okay, fine, okay.
Yeah, no, you covered everything, and we'll see what Randy has to say.
All right, I'll bring this list to Randy and maybe even to, no, Alexa, no one can hear you. What do you do to hit star six or
Six.
console? Alexa? Oh, boo. Anybody on the call, can you tell me how to unmute?
Star 6.
Star 6 to unmute?
Yes.
You want to try again, Alexa? Talk. I don't. She's going to try to call back in again. Well, in the meanwhile, at 6:37, we will listen to Alexa and go back if she's got comments about the previous motion. But let's move on right now to the next motion, which was discussion and possible motion regarding the creation of a standing business committee. Unless, Richard, you want to wait until Alexa gets back on. Richard Adams, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know if we were waiting for Alexa or not.
No, well, unless you want me to.
Your call, your committee. I just had an item to bring.
I would say no, we can have, well, there she is. Alexa?
Now can you hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I kept pressing *6 and it would say I was unmuted, but you still couldn't hear me. So here's our problem. I was like, is everybody talking over me?
No.
My comments were that, there's different ways to run these meetings on Zoom. You can have like a webinar set up. You can have a meeting where everybody's involved. So that goes to the different functionality of like where you can only see the people who are running the meeting versus the participants and the chats and the breakout rooms. So you can have, it's just how you set up the Zoom. But I think above all else, it probably would be nice to have uniformity just so that anybody who's joining a meeting that's not a council member, just any sort of stakeholder, knows what to expect and how they can be heard and operate in the meeting. I think setting expectations is probably a good idea. So that's what I had to say.
Okay, well, that's good. That's along the lines with what we were going to talk to, or what I was going to talk to Randy about.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so good. Richard Adams, go ahead, starting the discussion on the next motion.
Okay. Some things have been bouncing around in my head for a while. The neighborhood council is supposed to represent all portions of stakeholders in the community. We have business owner seats, we have employee seats, we have the business owner or business landowner seats, but we've never done anything outside of that. And the business district is vitally important to the quality of life here in Studio City. Lots of empty shops. And now more than ever, we need to get together and work with the business community. We can leverage the bid and the Chamber of Commerce contacts to get more outreach to business owners, and not just brick and mortar business owners throughout Studio City, but everybody who works from home, sound engineers, writers, the whole 9 yards. And practically everybody is working from home these days anyway. And we should have been in a position to ask the city council to weigh in on things like AB 5, et cetera, and defend people's rights to work for a living and how they choose to, what they consider gainful employment at a reasonable rate, rather than somebody up in Sacramento deciding how they should be able to work or not work. And I just think we need to create a committee like this, get business owners and people involved. We could reach out through the bid and Chamber of Commerce, as I said, and also encourage anybody who has their own business out of their house to come on board and help discuss all the issues that they have working with the city, trying to work past the city, etc. It just seems like something that A, would be useful, and B, should be fairly easy to do.
Is there comments on?
Yes, just want to know, is anybody suggesting it? Do they want, anybody want to lead this community? You know, I just want to see
I will.
basically. Okay.
It was my idea. Yeah, I'll put the time and effort into it.
Okay, well, obviously Randy has to push the button for that to happen. But I just want to say, as long as you can get a consistency, why not?
Okay, I thought oh, that's right. We don't have to vote on a standing committee anymore.
It could go
under the
either way.
bylaws, what is the method of creating a standing committee? I would think the board still has to vote on it, but we don't have to change fundamentally change the bylaws. It's just in the operating procedures, correct?
Correct. We can add it into the operating, but actually can be created through the board or through Randy, I think. I don't have my bylaws for that. Unfortunately, I usually do, but I don't have them right in front of me. But it's not, it's in operating, it's not in bylaws. So it's just a majority vote. But I guess, Richard, did you have a chance to talk to, is it Lisa and Jesse, who are the business reps?
The other two business reps? No, I didn't. I knew Lisa was one of them. Who's the other one?
Wasn't it Jesse? Somebody else help me? I kind of thought it was Jesse.
Because I'm not sure it says on her webpage. I thought Jesse was a renter.
Jesse is a renter.
Okay. Okay, well. No, it does not say that.
I'm not even sure it specifies on the webpage anymore which seats are which. I'm a business seat. Lisa DeKay is a business seat. I don't know who the third person is.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments about it? Any other stakeholders have anything that they want to say about it? Created a business committee? Debbie, go ahead.
It's an amazing idea. Our own board they were planning on doing it earlier, but I don't think it completed until after COVID. They created a business committee, and I'm not quite sure how it's going, but I think anything you can do to show your stakeholders that you're stepping up to help them would be advantageous.
I think it'll look good.
In the best of times, our business owners have a hard row to hoe, and these days it's ridiculous. And I really think anything we can do to help any of our stakeholders, if the business district turns into a whole bunch of empty shops, is not good for anybody in Studio City. So anything we can do to incrementally improve their lot in life is something we ought to consider doing. As I said, it extends to everybody in the neighborhood who has a business, whether it's brick and mortar on any of the streets or if they're working out of their house, including some of the people listening right now.
That part's a good idea.
Alexa, do you have any comment?
No, other than I agree with what Richard Adams is saying. I think we should show some support for our business owners, and having empty street storefronts is not a great look for Studio City, and we want to be able to support all of our businesses, simply because a lot of the business owners also live in Studio City. So I agree with what Richard's point was.
Can we do a motion to create a standing committee?
Yes. I would think so. I think you should just have something simple like we move the standing committee for business owners and operators be created. Just that simple.
Moves to
Your
create a
agenda
standing.
says discussion of possible motions, so it's been noticed that we were going to write one.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Board of Studio City hereby authorizes the creation of a business community committee.
A business community standing committee?
Yes, or a standing business community committee.
Okay, can I just put those words in the right order when I'm typing this up?
Uh-huh.
But I'll use the
And by
words
using the term
moves,
business community,
creates, business community and standing committee. Okay, yeah?
the standing business community committee. And business community is more embracing of everybody. It's not just, the shops on Ventura. It's anybody who's has a business inside the boundaries.
Well, the standing committee, Richard would reference that it's not an ad hoc, but it's a standing committee, and it continues on even after the new board takes over.
Right.
And business committee would be the title. Business community committee would be the title. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Okay, so all those in favor? Wait, is there a second?
Yes,
I'll
I second it.
Richard, you
already-
made it.
I already seconded it.
No, you
Okay.
can't. You made
Okay.
it. You made the motion. Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was a vote because we could all, there's only 3 of us. Okay, the motion's passed. Richard will bring it to the board meeting.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
Now I can go start the work on dinner.
Excellent. Okay, so we are finished with the business.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Any more comments from anybody? Debbie?
I was just wondering if I could ask a non-agenda question. I'm curious how your board and your committees are handling the idea of speaker cards. I was quickly.
Okay, Debbie, just hold on a second. Let me finish the meeting and then we can talk about it afterwards.
Perfect. I appreciate it so much.
If there's any other comments?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, without objection, the meeting's adjourned. It is now 6:48. Now, Debbie. Go ahead.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you
Alexa.
for letting me participate.
So you know what, Debbie, I have to tell you, the comment cards were an issue. And that is, we're not handling them correctly yet on Zoom. And that's one of the issues that Randy and I have been struggling with. But the problem with comment cards is that on Zoom, everybody's commenting on other people's comments, and that can't happen. That's our problem. So the comment section tends to be a half an hour or 40 minutes instead of just 10 or 15.
And do you normally limit speaker time?
Yes, we have to, because our meetings have gone 4 hours. We have to.
And what was your standard prior to Zoom? Like in a public meeting, was it 1 minute, 2 minutes?
It was based on how many speaker cards or how many public comment cards we got.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's the whole point in Brown Act, is if you've got 50 people and everyone wants to come and talk about a specific topic, you've got to really reduce that to 30 seconds because you don't have the time for that.
Right.
But if it's
Also-
just a small group, you can have 3 minutes or more.
Also, this comment cards, they have the right not to put any discovery information on them at all, including their name.
Other than the item they want to speak on, correct?
That's correct.
Well, and just a reference to how to call them up to the,
Yeah, yeah. That's very helpful. I appreciate your input. Thank you.
yeah.
And thank you for letting me attend. This was very informative for me.
Oh, good. And good luck on your committee, Debbie.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We're done. Bye, goat.
My goat.